1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 23, our first podcast being recorded in the new year. So the one that actually went out today was actually recorded on the 26th. But we are here, we are in 2021, and it's cloudy out.
Indeed, it's an absolutely miserable day here in England. It's been raining a heck load. It snowed for all of about 3 minutes, and now it's just disgusting.
You know, it's been raining pretty much constantly since yesterday too. So
yeah,
start as
what
you
a
mean
great
to go
start
on.
to 2021.
Oh my god.
I was on Facebook for the first time in years the other day.
Oh.
And I was scrolling down through like just stuff that people had been doing recently, and Chill Chaos. I saw a post from them, and it was just like, I miss 2020, and I'm like, really?
Already?
No one is saying that.
Yeah.
And there were no replies to his comment and no likes or anything.
Yeah, there really wasn't. I mean, we talked about
Wait,
this.
did I say Chilled Chaos?
Yeah, you said Chilled Chaos.
I meant Added Chaos. Sorry, Chilled Chaos is
Yeah.
a YouTuber.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this in the 20th podcast when we were talking about 2020. But I think neither of us had a particularly horrible year, especially compared to a lot of people. But
No, I think
definitely wasn't a good year. Like, there were good things about it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, there were good things about it, but I wouldn't classify it as a good year.
No, we're online social, so it doesn't really affect us. Our social lives, anyway. For the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, there are some people I haven't seen in person.
Yeah. God, now I made that mistake with the whole chaos thing. I was watching back our last episodes on. It was a few days ago now, and when we were discussing Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
every single time I said Sauron instead of Saruman. I think,
Wait,
like,
Which-
repeatedly got it wrong.
which one's which?
So
Is Saruman the guy who pissed off the trees?
okay, Sauron is the Eye of Sauron, the flaming eyeball that used to belong to the Dark Lord Sauron.
Right, and Saruman is the dude that kicks the shit out of Gandalf and then pisses off the trees.
Yeah, he's the White Wizard.
Okay.
He made the Uruk-hai. Anyway, that really irked me when I was listening back to it. I was like, I did it again. Oh no.
Oh, there's going to be some Lord of the Rings fan out there who's just frothing at the mouth listening to that
Well,
episode.
that's the thing. I was frothing at the mouth, and I'm the one that fucking said it.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
So we've already we haven't even introduced the topics yet. We did have a couple topics which you very helpfully thought up this morning. The one I actually I think the one I actually want to start with is the second one that you thought up, actually, the product placement.
yeah, I've already forgotten them.
Yeah, that's good. I wrote them down. Yeah, product placement. It's particularly like, in my mind, just thinking of ways it's been done well and ways it's been done poorly. Like there's the classic stereotype if you're watching a movie and there's a scene in a restaurant and it's like a long shot and then somebody just unsubtly puts a Pepsi down right in front of the camera.
Yeah,
It's like it has nothing to do with the scene.
Delicious Pepsi Max.
And then they get back to the plot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like the stereotypical example of it being done very blatantly and, in my opinion, very poorly and lazily. But I think it has been done well before. Like,
well, I mean, even if you do it well, there's still times where you can overdo it. Like, okay, the two films that I have always thought are the most absolutely drenched in product placement are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
the movie?
Yes.
Like the live action one?
Yes.
I'm trying to think back.
So blatant. they're just so much.
I haven't seen it in years. What's the bits you're talking about?
Like the pizza adverts, obviously. There's like
Was
giant
it like
billboards.
specific like branded pizza and stuff?
Yeah, they like it's like a Domino's pizza or something stupid. And the other major movie that has lots of product placement, Jurassic World, is it called?
I have not seen it. I
I
haven't seen any of the new ones.
mean, in my opinion, the only Jurassic Park is the first Jurassic Park. This one with what's his name? The guy that's super popular for a long while. The guy
Chris
who was
Pratt.
in Passengers.
Yeah.
It is Chris Pratt. Okay.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah, there's tons of like shops and things in this Jurassic World where every time you go past like the main area where the people are, there's just brand after brand after brand. Yeah. But then, sorry, I've been talking for a while, but I'll just finish it with the last thing. Equally, when you get films like James Bond,
Yeah.
they do quite a bit of product placement, but it tends to be for like expensive suits, watches,
Aston Martin.
cars. I think they do that quite well. I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's often quite obvious, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be
It's obvious, but it doesn't take you out of the movie.
exactly. It's meant to be there in the world.
Like, I think Skyfall, like, they were heavily sponsored. The James Bond movie Skyfall was heavily sponsored by Macallan Scotch whiskey. And there's quite a few things where they're drinking that in the show, and there's a very poignant scene with the villain that involves a 25-year-old Macallan bottle.
Right.
Anyway, so that, for reference, the non-Scotch drinkers out there, that bottle costs a few $1,000s, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, like you said, quite expensive brands. But
Well, that's just the bottle, not the stuff inside of it.
yeah, exactly. That's after the Scotch has already been drank. No, the other movie I was thinking of that, again, it's not necessarily that subtle. I mean, the movie in general isn't that subtle, so maybe this is just subtle by comparison. But in the very first live-action Transformers movie that came back out in like the mid-2000s,
Yeah.
that one, if you watch it, every single one of the Autobots is a Chevy of some variety, or
Yeah.
and it's like it's clear that because they have like
Well, except
close.
from Octopus.
Oh yeah, because he's a truck. But I think that even the truck that they use is one that's manufactured by General Motors, which Chevy is a part of. I'm pretty sure.
Jazz isn't, is he?
I don't know. I remember watching it at the time and thinking like, I mean, obviously you have Bumblebee, who is one of the big characters.
Yeah, he's
and,
the iconic one in the whole film. Yeah.
and he's a Chevy Camaro. But
Very nice looking car.
yeah, it is a very nice looking car. Oh man, but yeah, so that one maybe it's not terribly subtle, but it doesn't take you out of the movie.
Yeah. Mind you, when it came to Transformers, I always preferred the Decepticons' vehicles are always cooler.
They really were like even.
He had a goddamn Black Hawk. That's like so cool.
Yeah, I mean they were kind of they had kind of the cooler vehicles even in the original animated series. Like
Yeah.
you know, Megatron turned into like a pistol that fired like a cannon. You know, they had
Starscream was a jet.
Yep. You had what was it? I can't remember. He could turn into a train and a rocket ship. That guy was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They had Devastator.
I mean, both at the same time, really.
Yeah, they had Devastator, the construction robots that could all combine together into this giant like behemoth.
There was an Autobot equivalent of that, wasn't there?
There was but not until like
remember
later in the series.
Okay.
His name was he was made out of a bunch of planes. Like eventually the Autobots got some jets too.
Yeah.
And they could turn into something. But at the same time, the Decepticons got another new one where the guy's name was Bruticus, I think, and he like was a bunch of military vehicles, so like tanks and helicopters and
I think he's actually in the live action.
he may have been actually. Yeah, they did bring back a lot of the originals for that. I don't want to get off on the weeds and Transformers.
Yes,
but,
sorry.
I'm thinking of like to move it away from like movies. You do get it in video games too, like quite a bit. I remember I never played this game, but I remember hearing about it. It was called like Bionic Commando or something like that. And it was a remake of like a old 8-bit like side scroller game, but it was done in 3D and you had a hook shot and everything. If I remember right, I think the entire world was just plastered with advertisements for Pepsi, and it was supposed to be a post-apocalypse, but all of the Pepsi billboards and ads were pristine. So it just, I want to say it was that game, so might not have been, but that's
looking at there's like, so from the screenshots I'm looking at, there's a bunch of like drinks machines on the levels, and billboards now. I'm seeing them. Yeah, it's like a horrible, dingy, like imagine some kind of Siberian railway tunnel, and then there's just a big billboard with Pepsi on the side.
I mean, so, like that's an example in video games of it being handled pretty poorly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terribly out of place. Like, yeah, a drinks machine would be in this office, but it's only Pepsi. I'm seeing.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to get your read on like, because Fortnite is an example of like a live service game. Oh, excuse me, where they actually have they've done advertising things, like when the Avengers movies came to an end and they were doing Endgame and Infinity War. They released like a Thanos skin in the game, and that was like a cross promotion.
Oh yeah,
with Marvel.
there's like every kind of what's the word, universe is in Fortnite now. There's so many. There's Star Wars and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but I almost feel like that's not too bad, because those aren't story-based games. They're a battle royale. You're fighting with a team against like a bunch of other people, and if you want to release a skin to promote the movie, like, and give it out for free in game, and the players don't mind because, hey, I get a cool free skin, and the movie gets promotion, and Fortnite gets paid. Like,
yeah,
I think I don't have as much of a, even though that one is very blatant and very obvious, I don't really think that's something that I can't see myself having too much of a problem with it.
I kind of lose a little bit of respect for just anyone that associates with Fortnite.
Well, yeah, I use Fortnite as an obvious example, but I'm sure there are other live service games out there where they've done similar things.
The perfect game to do it with, though, because if they did it on a game like, let's say, Rainbow, right? Rainbow Six Siege, and you have suddenly like, I don't know, John Wick in Rainbow Six. Actually, John Wick would be a fucking
awesome character in Rainbow Six Siege.
But my point is, if you put like a crazy character into a game that's has a modicum of seriousness and like, it really detracts from the game itself more than it puts in.
I use that, like, that's an example because Fortnite is a lot more cartoonish.
Exactly, but you can get away with this stuff.
But I think
that's why I say it's like one.
You could probably get away with it a little bit in Rainbow Six if you were if it was a little bit more subdued. So obviously you're not running around playing as some kind of a superhero, but if not necessarily a promotional skin, well, you get like a branded skin,
you've seen the goddamn the pizza skin annoyed me so much.
The what?
Have you not seen the Rainbow Six pizza skin?
I don't think I've seen the Rainbow Six pizza skin.
Oh my god, right, you waffle, I'm gonna send you a bloody picture. It made me so angry. Jake loved it.
Well, I think that's the thing. You're right, though. That game has a much more serious tone. The game we're talking about, by the way, Rainbow Six Siege, is a kind of it's an arena shooter kind of game where one team is playing a defensive objective and the other team is trying to, be on offense and take that objective. So the defensive team, they have 4 specialized characters who, oh my god, that's the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Do you see? It annoys me.
Okay.
so much.
It's literally a skin for a character in this game called Pepperoni Cheese, and he's got what looks like a pastry on his head with a
It's a
crown.
pizza slice, yeah.
Is it? It doesn't look like a slice. I mean, it looks like a pizza slice that somebody rolled up into a ball and then sat on. But
Well, it's because of the angle. Hang on, let me.
yeah. Anyway, so to finish the description of the game, you have these two teams going against each other. One team's on offense and is specialized for breaking in. The other team's on defense and they're specialized into like creating defenses and traps within the area to protect the objective. Okay, that is a different angle. Oh my god! And even the gun has pepperoni on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is so stupid. Of course, it would be that character too. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I mean, all right, moving on. Like, can you think of any other? I I think these with games. Well, you know what? Let's to summarize. I think with when it comes to games, I think that the advertisements are much more acceptable and much more suited to being in these live service type games. When they're in single player, like you really need to handle them like in a certain way so that they don't become like jarring and annoying to the players.
As a couple of quick small examples,
Hmm.
there's you know Crash Bandicoot, right?
Yeah.
So they dropped hints and like a little bit of light advertisement in the Crash Bandicoot games for Spyro,
Yeah.
and equally in Spyro you get the same thing. But yeah, like on one of the first levels in Crash, I think, in one of the games, I'm not sure which, there's like an inflatable Spyro balloon in the background. And the other game I've been playing literally today, well, I don't know, is it really advertisement? It's kind of self-advertisement, I suppose.
Well,
but yeah, it depends what your take is on self-advertisement. I've been playing Doom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of like small things that you can advertisements kind of thing that you get in there, which is the collectible toys that you find around the place.
Yeah, those are kind of oddly cute in a game like that.
Awesome, yeah. Because you just know if I don't know if they have or not. If they produce them as actual like models,
Oh yeah, people would buy the hell
eat
out
that
of them.
shit up.
Oh yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that because they're cool. And and the other thing is they kind of advertise their old games, so you get like the secret hidden levels. I remember they did in 2016 one anyway. I don't know if they did in this one, where you like go into areas where it's like suddenly all the walls are made of pixels and the enemies are shooting at you.
Yep.
Which is again another very cool way of doing it.
They a lot of publishers will do that, like referencing their old games. Though Cyberpunk does that. Like, I think if you pre-ordered the game or something, there was certain, or I think if you own The Witcher 3, that's what it was. Then in the game, I'm guessing because I did pre-order it, and I also own a copy of The Witcher 3, so I'm not sure which one of these did it. But you can get a like a Witcher branded like leather jacket in the game, and you just get it automatically. It's obviously doesn't, Cyberpunk is set in the far future, whereas The Witcher is set in medieval Poland. So slightly different locations, but they they're referencing their own games, and I find those little Easter eggs. See, that's we're going from advertising territory into Easter egg territory now.
Well, actually, okay. Ironically, okay. I just realised that Rainbow Six does actually have a character taken from another game.
Oh?
It has Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell in Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, is it a skin or is it a character?
It's an actual character. I think it's the latest character.
Oh. Well, I mean, I think that the it's also owned by Ubisoft, so it makes sense.
I guess so. But yeah, I bet most people these days wouldn't really even know who that is because I didn't even play Splinter Cell as a kid. But I
Damn
knew
it, Fisher!
Fucking
love that game.
Yeah, very iconic look to him.
A little side tangent here to tell a little story about Splinter Cell. The only Splinter Cell I played to any, or Splinter Cell game I played to any significant extent was Splinter Cell Chaos Theory for the original Xbox. And my friend and I used to play it on co-op all the time. And we must have played like each level like a million times over, and we just failed the level in the funniest. There were so many funny ways you could fuck things up. And so like one of them, we had to go in, I think it was in Panama. It was the president of some company or something like that, or it was a politician or something. I don't remember the actual mission. Excuse me, but you had to sneak into his villa, get past his guards or like subdue them, and then take him down non-lethally, so either a tranquilizer dart or choke him out, and then take him out of the building and load him in a van. Now, we discovered a little, if you killed him, or if he discovered you, there were a lot of ways you could finish the mission and fail it. And if you did that, your guy over the radio would just go like, "Damn it, Fisher, we needed him alive." And I must have heard that line so many times on that level. Because the last and the funniest one, because the game, original Xbox, there were some glitches here and there. We loaded him into the elevator, because we were going to go down, and you're supposed to like you can just carry him and get in the elevator. But we just put him on the floor and just to see what would happen. We hit the elevator button, and his body started ragdolling and bouncing off the elevator walls, and it killed him.
Oh, jeez.
Because the physics fucked up inside the elevator.
Yeah, just not used to having it.
So just a little tangent there. We're talking about Rainbow Six.
I mean, I can go further into this tangent right now.
But okay, go ahead. But I do want to just we already summarized. What were you gonna say?
Netflix and Ubisoft's first project together is an animated adaptation of the gaming publisher's Splinter Cell series. The company announced today.
What?
There's gonna be a Splinter Cell Netflix adaptation.
And it's going to be animated.
Apparently.
I wonder what style of animation they're going. Are they going to go with like the gritty, realistic kind of animation, or are they going to go anime animation?
Streamer has ordered 2 seasons from the get-go for a total of 16 episodes. Same person that wrote John Wick.
Oh. That might actually be pretty cool then.
Based on Tom Clancy's book series, follows former Navy SEAL Sam Fisher. That could be really, really cool, or it could be total flop, and it's going to annoy a lot of people if it's a flop.
That describes every Netflix series. It's either really good or a complete flop.
I mean, I'd say most Netflix, more often than not, they're on the popular side rather than the flop side. But this is something with history to it. Like, quite often Netflix comes up with new and crazy ideas. This is not a new idea. It's got like prestige to it.
Well, I'm thinking back to their Witcher series was also not an original idea. It was based on the books and the games and everything. And actually, it was based on the books. The games kind of went their own way because they take place after the books. But it was pretty good. It had some flaws in the first season, some things that annoyed me having read the books. Some story changes that were like, why did you even do that? You just made the story worse.
Having not read the books myself, I didn't see those issues.
Yeah.
Apparently, Netflix announced in January that The Witcher was watched by 76 million households in approximately 4 weeks.
Ooh. I mean
that's kind of just one of those crazy numbers that you can't really picture anyway, but holy shit.
It was a good series. I plowed through it in like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, the complaints I had were just like minor things, and I think they made the changes to make it a little bit more appealing to a general audience. But still pretty good. I think
that is the real test of whether something's a success or not, is whether someone who's invested in the series as you are,
Yeah.
appreciates it.
Yeah, because I've read all the books, I've played all the games.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And we should just not talk about the Assassin's Creed film.
I forgot that even existed.
Yeah.
There've been a lot of
bean.
there've been a lot of bad game movies, game-based movies. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, product. We kind of deviated a bit from product placement, but
That's our wrap.
yeah, that is typically how it happens. We stayed on topic for a whole like 10, 15 minutes.
Clearly, I'm not trying hard enough.
Well, we've got 5 minutes left in the segment. Do we want to keep going with this? Can you think of any other product placements? Otherwise, we could
We'll go on to the second idea.
go on to the second
Fuck
idea.
it,
Yeah.
it'll be a 50-minute first
God.
intro now.
Well, that's why I'm hesitating, because I'm looking at the second topic and I'm like, we could talk about this for like 2 hours.
So much like Splinter Cell's gone into Rainbow Six, the first time I ever heard about John Wick was because John Wick is in Payday 2. And so is a guy called Rust, who's from a biker, American Biker Club TV show. There's Jimmy, who's from a film called Hardcore Henry. There's Ethan and someone else from a very popular YouTube channel. They've got a lot of characters from a lot of different places.
What sounds like it. But again, I think Payday also, it falls into that sort of live service where you're jumping into a match and you play through a match, but it's all self-contained. There's not really, from what I've seen from the outside, because I haven't played it, is that there isn't really much of a story, or if there is, it's kind of a background presence.
Well, you know that idea we have for the third segment?
Yes.
Well, that's...
Because
okay. I wasn't aware. Like you're saying, I was only aware of like a vague story plot, and then one day, about a month or two back, I was like, there's a video on like the story of it. I might as well find out a bit more. And I was like, so much that I was missing. Because all the story in it is like, you can't just find a document in the world which explains this stuff. It's all like connecting this situation with this time frame, and if you look in a particular direction on a particular map at a particular time, there's a flash of something which helps with something else somewhere, and this massive like spider web of a story comes together.
There is like
It's crazy.
there's something to be said though about the kind of more subtle storytelling. Destiny
Absolutely.
did something like that when it first came out. You kind of got a feel for the story, but if you really wanted to know anything more detailed than the very surface level stuff, you had to read through all these like cards that would appear. You actually had to go onto Bungie's website and read these cards to figure out what the lore actually was. They got better with that in Destiny 2, but in the first one, the story was a very light presence.
Well, unlike in the first iteration of the game, just to get the final achievement, right, which is like the hardest level, you had to get a particular compass direction, and the compass direction was like a mosaic on a floor somewhere. Then you had to get a particular pattern, which was just on a generic carpet in a house somewhere. And then you had to go on this particular level. There needs to be a 4-man group if you're on a particular difficulty, and you all have to stand in particular places, facing particular directions, and hold that position without breaking into the cameras, and then you activate a alternate way to complete the mission, which takes a lot longer, and if you mess up the puzzle, then you lose an hour's worth of playtime, and only then can you possibly complete the last mission in Payday 1. Like, it is nutso.
So I mentioned, this is like This is going again into Easter egg territory, and I'm pretty sure most people are listening are going to know this, but for reference, Easter eggs in video games are little hidden things that maybe are off or on canon that the developers have kind of hidden in the game. So talking about like finding a reference to, like you were talking about in Doom, where you go into a room and suddenly you're in the old 8-bit Doom, and it's like, oh right,
Yeah.
it's a reference to the old pixely Doom one. It's an
Throwback.
Easter egg for that. In what is it in that puzzle game that I liked? Oh, Talos Principle. In
Yep.
that game, there's a hidden area you can get to where you can play. Their other game was Serious Sam, which is a big, in the same vein as
Very
Doom.
different kind of game.
Yeah, Talos Principle is more slow-paced, contemplative,
Yeah,
like
but kind of
puzzle-solving
sinister.
game.
Kind of sinister.
It does. It has a very dark undertone if you take the time to... That's another one that had a very subtle story that when you started to dig into it, you really started to notice, oh...
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. And it is a very dark story when you finally do get down to it and start to work out what's going on. But yeah, you find a little room with a couch and a copy of Serious Sam 3, one of their other games, playing, if you manage to make it into this little secret Easter egg area.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, the old... I remember on the PS2, I think it was, I used to play Ratchet and Clank 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if you... Back in the day when you had cheat mags, we were looking through the cheat mag and there was this thing that was like, oh, there's actually a hidden demo in the game where in the menu, if you did a particular button combination, it would give you a demo for Sly Fox. Totally random, but it was really cool. And
that was that was another game they made. I remember that game. I never played it, but I know the game you're talking about. I'm just thinking back to there's other bits where it's kind of like less subtle when they're referencing things. So I think when the original Doom came out, or maybe it was the second one, you could find when one of the levels when you're in hell, you can find the corpse of Duke Nukem, like hanging, or a very Duke Nukem-esque looking character, like hanging from a hook, like.
Oof.
And it's it's just them not like mocking the other, it's just referencing the other game, which it's an interesting little thing. And if you like both games, you'd be like, oh look, they're referencing this other game or something like that. Duke Nukem Forever, the one that took 13 years to come out, and when it did come out, it was a pretty all over the place generic shooter.
Yeah, it's never appealed to me, that one.
There's a scene in the very beginning when you leave and there's a truck that's open and there's some very Halo-looking power armor in the back of the truck, and this one is not subtle at all because there's a guy standing next to it and he's like, "Sir, do you want your power armor?" And he's like, "Power armor? Power armor is for pussies." And then he moves on. That's my Duke Nukem impression, by the way. So
okay,
it's like just all subtlety out the window. Just like, hey, look, I referenced Halo and made fun of it. Laugh, you sheep. Anyway, I don't even know how we got here, but I think we're kind of coming up on the end. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts before we close out segment 1?
My final thought is I went into this segment with only a third of a cup of coffee, so I'm going to need another cup pretty soon.
Yeah, I ran out of tea. I was drinking... This is a very odd, set of beverages I have here. I have a glass of water, I had a glass of tea, and I was having almond milk.
Yeah. I've been drinking, I literally had 4 glasses of milk with my lunch today.
Okay,
well... it was... So, the first message I sent you today, which was just, my mouth is on fire?
Yes, I was wondering what that was about. I'm assuming you had something spicy for breakfast, or...
It was some insanely hot noodles that my brother got me. And... yeah, it was a new level. Every single time I took a bite, I had to take a drink of milk because it was just God, worse.
All right.
Also really tasty.
With that description of our beverage choices this morning, I think we're going to wrap up segment 1 there. thank you, everyone who has listened up till now. This is the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. You will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, our media segment. We actually had 2 movie nights this week.
We did.
We did indeed. First one being...
I forgot that it was 2 in 1 week. Okay, so my memory's not great. And, like, yesterday I was saying, I was like, we got the podcast tomorrow. Maybe we should watch Kaiser's movie before then.
Yeah,
that would have been 3 movies. I'm like, oh god.
That would have been, quite a lot to talk about in one. We probably would have wanted to save one if that were the case. But we it was probably aided by the fact that I was on vacation this week, so I had a little bit of extra time. But yeah, we watched the original Chronicles of Riddick movie, and then Scarface. Scarface being...
What's the second movie in the Riddick installment?
Was it actually the second one?
Yeah, the first one is more of a horror.
Oh. I'll be honest, like, that movie didn't really stick with me too well. Like, some movies I remember everything that happened, but that one, the plot kind of just went in one ear and out the other.
So, I watched that originally when I was, like, super, super young. And I think with age, it's kind of less... It grabs me less. But it's still, I really enjoy it as a movie.
Well, yeah, there were some really badass action scenes in it. One of my favorite ones that still sticks with me, it's one of the few that I still actually really remember, and I can't remember what the context is around this, but there are these guys, like, getting up in Riddick's face, and he said something like, "I'll kill you with my teacup."
Yeah, that's the one I kept going on about.
Yeah.
So, the prison guards were passing Jack down. Jack, like, killed one of them, and then the rest start mugging her, and he's like, "You should put the woman down," kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean,
what are you gonna do? Kill us with your soup cup? It's tea.
Yeah, it's like, "I'll kill you with my teacup," and he does it. Yeah. He like shatters it and grinds it into the guy's chest. Yeah, a lot of cool, like, badass action moments. Like, it seemed like it was an enjoyable movie to watch, but yeah, I'm now not even a week on. I'm struggling to remember most of the plot.
Yeah, so in the first one, he's being transported as a criminal by basically a passenger ship. The ship goes down. 90% of the crew are dead. There's a crew of like 10 of them still alive also, and he isn't going near the group because they all want to kill him because he's a criminal, and eventually they work out, like, so there's several suns in the solar system, and so it's not turning to night, but they find this base that reveals that it turns to night like once every god knows how many years or whatever. And then it does start to become night, and these creatures come out from the earth, and everything is like pitch black everywhere, hence the title of the movie is Pitch Black.
Yeah.
And they can fly, they're nigh on indestructible, and the group has to get to the last remaining ship on the planet to escape. And the only people to escape are Riddick, a holy man, and the little girl called Jack. So that explains why he goes to see the holy man at the beginning of the second film, and his connection with Jack, who has grown up and become an actual crazy woman. Hello?
Yep, I heard you.
Okay.
I didn't know. I was waiting to see if you were done with the plot synopsis. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't really have I don't have too much to say about it. This is one of those it's a movie that I think I may rewatch at some point, because I would like to see it again, because as a spectacle movie, it seems like the kind of movie I would really like to have on while I was doing something else.
Hmm.
Like have it playing in the background while I'm doing stuff around the house, or like working on editing something, just as
Yeah.
like because it had a very good popcorn movie kind of quality, right?
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
just it's enjoyable to watch, but
The third episode in it was a far more recent release, so maybe that would appeal more. And it takes on a very slight horror element from the first film, and also kind of the action from the second film. So the third film would probably be more popular to people today.
the third film
And there's a
came.
lot of very cool moments in that as well.
Yeah, and that one I think didn't that came out in the 2010s, didn't it? The third one, I think.
Yeah, it was. Let's see, 2013,
Okay, yeah.
and I think someone's actually put it all on YouTube illegally. But what I'm saying is, you could watch it for free if you wanted. I think. um, yeah, I kind of stumbled across that while I was looking for Riddick 2. Yeah. Also, he's got a doggo in number 3.
Oh, clearly. Then that's got to be the best movie, though.
Oh yeah.
It just makes everything better. But yeah, the I don't know. I feel like I'm failing here, but I
You're trying to find things. So
I'm
yeah, no,
yeah, and I
it's just a fun
can't.
action movie.
It was.
Yeah. So the other movie we watched,
Yeah, and I feel like
Scarface.
this is going to be one that we probably talk about quite a bit more, because this was a movie that I have owned on Blu-ray, and it to this day sits unopened on my shelf, and it's one that, because it's a 3-hour movie, it's one that I always intended to watch, but it was one that I wanted to actually sit down and watch, and I rarely have the patience to sit still and watch something for 3 hours. So
Yeah.
I just never got around to it. I think I've owned the movie for 2 or 3 years now, and I just never did. I'm glad that we finally did watch it, because I can see why it's such a classic.
Mm.
And it is a long movie, but it does. When I was watching it, with the exception of like a couple bits, it didn't seem long. Like, it had me kind of riveted and like really interested in how the movie was going to go throughout the entire 3 hours.
Yeah, and I saw how aspects of it have been taken into other films
Yeah.
since its release.
Oh, and there are quite a few iconic quotes that I've heard elsewhere first, and I didn't really know what they were referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
yeah, like the scene where he's in the restaurant, he's like, "Say hello to the bad guy. You're never gonna
Yeah.
see a bad guy like this again." And it just like that. The fact that Al Pacino does a fairly good job, like doing that character and doing that accent, because his other main role was in the Godfather, playing Michael Corleone, and
Mm-hmm. Very different character.
yeah, very different character, very different, well, different movement, different style, different accent. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it really did showcase like how good his acting range was. I will say that if anyone hasn't seen the movie and intends to watch it, it is a fairly brutal movie. It doesn't get like too in your face with gore, but there are some fairly intense like scenes.
Yeah, in my opinion, the only scene which was intense enough that, okay, obviously, because I was like, can we pause here? And I asked if he was okay.
Yeah.
Was the shower scene.
Yeah, with the chainsaw.
I realised to people listening, that sounds like maybe it's a smutty scene with the shower. No, that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's a fairly brutal murder with a chainsaw.
It is. And I saw it. I mean, there was a build up to it, so you knew it was coming. But I was like, nah, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. And then I was like, hang on, it's kind of an old film. Maybe they could get away with this.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't actually show it, fortunately. well, they show blood flying out and the guy screaming, which is pretty bad. But yeah,
I
that was
think
pretty graphic.
what got it, because you're right. They don't graphically depict any of the gore really, but just the close-up shots on like the guy's face when the blood is like spraying up. It's like they do. I think they do something that a lot of movie makers now could kind of learn from, is that they actually used the fact that they weren't showing it was more horrifying, because it's left in your imagination what was going on like just outside of the camera shot. And you're right, you just hear the screaming, you see the blood popping up, and it's
Yeah, and while that was happening, and the guys were down by the car, it's you also get that feeling, and I absolutely hate it in movies where you're like, this is dumb. Why are they flirting with girls right now when there is clearly like someone screaming in the building? The TV was turned up and all that. And it was just the frustration of knowing, and wanting to shout at the screen.
Well, yeah, I think that's something you get a lot in. I find myself getting a lot in horror movies. Is like the characters are doing something dumb.
Why are you opening that door?
It's like, what the fuck are you doing? There is a the phrase I like that the Yahtzee, the guy from Zero Punctuation, his phrase for it is an idiot plot. And this isn't one of those things, but in a horror movie in particular, it's a plot that literally the key events can only happen because all of the main characters are idiots.
Yeah. It's fantastical.
Yeah. So, but thinking back to this movie, this was a scene. I was talking to my father the other day after we had seen it, and he really liked the movie, and he wanted to tell me about stuff. He's like, "Oh, if you haven't seen it, then." And the scene that he mentioned that he always thought was like kind of the most brutal, at least from a psychological standpoint, was that scene where he's going after his old boss, the guy who tries to have him killed at the club.
Oh, what, when he walks into the boardroom with his two buddies? Yeah,
exactly. And then the guy's like, there's that slow like build up where it starts off really tense and it just builds and builds and builds. And then
I was super chill during that. I don't know.
I found it to be. I kind of agree with my dad on this one. It was. I think it's not. I didn't find myself like moving around in my chair or like going like, oh god, like I did during the shower scene, but like from a psychological perspective, like the fact that guy, like you as the audience knew that this guy's dead. And it was just watching the slow realization of this guy thinking, oh god, I'm going to die, and then having that momentary relief before he ends up getting shot.
The moment it zoomed in on the clock, showing 3 p.m., and I was like, okay, I know I understand what the whole build-up to this was now. Why he said, call them at 3 p.m. and say this. Makes it really another level of kind of intrigue into it, because it's like, okay, he knows what the person is saying on the phone and he's gauging the reaction to see whether he actually did betray him or not. Did you not work that out?
No.
Oh my god, Kaiser.
I didn't catch that. You know what? But that click, I was wondering what the zoom in on the clock was all about.
Yeah, because he was told to tell him, sorry boss, he got away. And if the guy was like, wait, what are you talking about? Then it wouldn't have been him that ordered it. And that's why Scarface then started saying, why'd you have to betray me?
That whole thing makes a whole lot more sense now. I was wondering, the clock thing didn't click for me.
No? Didn't tick for you, huh?
Yeah, no, it didn't. TikTok.
But no, I was kind of just waiting for the guy to die for most of that, because it was a little bit drawn out. Not in a boring way. I wasn't bored while it was happening. I was slightly on edge.
Yeah.
But not in a I feel bad for the guy. It was more just like, all right. First of all, is he going to get mowed down by the submachine gun? That's my first thought. Then it was, oh, is he going to just leave him alive to flee the country, or like, meet some other tragic end? And then it was like, oh, okay, this guy's just going to shoot him in the head.
I did.
Cool.
I did like that line though. He's like, all right, fine, I won't shoot you. And he looks at his his second in command guy there. And he's like, all right, shoot this motherfucker. and then you go through all that. He kills the two guys, and then it's just the last guy, the subordinate there. And it's just like, and he's like, oh, what about him? And he turns back, and just there's this very tense moment, and then he just goes, you want a job? And my dad made this point when I talked to him. It adds just like a little bit of levity at the end of a very
a bit of humor.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of needed, because that scene probably, like I said, maybe not as intense as the shower scene in terms of pure like horror, but you need like a little bit of a little tick up at the end there. They do that a lot in the movie. I'm finding, or I'm like thinking back on it. They have a very intense scene followed by a bit of levity to kind of balance you out.
It.
Yeah. So like when he's down in Panama talking with the drug lord down there, right?
Right.
And the other guy,
the
other guy gets like kicked out of a helicopter and hung.
Yeah.
That's also pretty brutal. But then it goes back to them, and there's kind of both a character development moment for Scarface, but also for Tony Montana, but also a bit of levity there. He's like, I only got two things in this world. I got my balls, and I got my word, and I don't break neither of them for nobody. Yeah. And I like, because it was kind of a funny line, but B, it's a bit of a character defining moment for Tony Montana.
Yeah, I mean, up till the point where the helicopter takes off. I mean, if you take out the fact that they were talking about cocaine, it could have been a scene from Pride and Prejudice. They were just like walking through a building, then they were sitting having afternoon tea.
Beautiful
garden. It was all very casual, very relaxed.
That is a hilarious juxtaposition. Fucking Pride and Prejudice and Scarface.
And then, suddenly there's a bruised and beaten guy who's just been kicked off the helicopter with a noose around him.
Yeah.
And that to me was the big juxtaposition, and then it went to the...
That reminds me of... there's a... I thought, honestly, they were just going to kick him out of the helicopter and let him drop. There was a dictator in South America, like a military dictator, and I can't remember his name. It started with a P. Pinochet. He used to execute his political enemies by, kicking them out of helicopters, and having them fall to death. Just a little bit of a real life thing there. So I honestly, I didn't even think that they were going to hang him. I thought they were going to just kick him out and let him fall.
Yeah, but then, that'd make a terrible mess in the garden.
Yeah, well.
So something I failed to remember in the segment 1.
Yeah.
You know how I was talking about all the characters from films and stuff in Payday?
Yeah.
Tony Montana is also in Payday.
Of course.
Although, no. Sorry, in the bio, it's like someone who thinks and resembles Scarface, although obviously everyone knows that Scarface died X years ago.
Yeah. Oh
Sorry,
my god. That ending, like that last standoff scene was pretty crazy too.
That was a good ending. Well, I'd say good ending. I would prefer, obviously, if he survived, but even then, it's a good way to go out.
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting off tons of people with an assault rifle with a grenade launcher on it.
Yeah, he's coked up as fuck. He's in his castle.
And that's the thing. He keeps he's so coked. He gets shot 5 or 6 times, and he's so coked up he doesn't even notice.
Yeah, that takes a double barrel. Oh yeah. Never learned about, or maybe it's something that I just missed while watching the movie. Who's the lone gunman? because it feels like he has some kind of main character aura about him.
Yeah, you know what? I don't
Yeah,
know.
he looks really out of place because he looks like the Terminator, right? In the original Terminator films, got the sunglasses and the leather jacket.
I think he was just supposed to be like an expert hitman, right? But I don't remember if they ever defined who he was. If somebody else is listening to this and they've heard about,
Probably knows a lot more.
yeah, exactly, knows who that character was. If he's supposed to be someone more significant, let us know. But
I assume he was also an employee of the Sozas.
Yes.
Because also those were all Sosa's men.
yeah,
Um,
that's why I'm thinking. I think they threw a bunch of like cannon fodder and then one
sent in the Terminator.
one like professional hitman.
Mm.
I didn't read any deeper into it than that. I just thought it was like, okay, all these other guys who are running around dying, like they're literally just there to distract and soften up the house before,
Very
before the big man comes in and finishes the job.
Yeah, very inefficient weapon for an expert assassin, I would say.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's got style to it, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also a little bit more like he seemed to be up close and personal because doesn't he like? I think he like choked somebody out earlier on. Like he was going for stealth, that guy, whereas everyone else was just.
He kills the fat man, right?
Yeah.
And with the fat man, he comes up behind him, puts the double barrel shotgun to the back of his head, and pulls the trigger.
Oof. Alright, so he was going in for close range work.
Yeah, it wasn't super silent, but his approach was silent. And yeah, it was someone else who, the regular people when it started out using garrotes and.
Yeah, and I think that probably the shotgun may have just been his way to like guarantee a kill. I agree that there's probably more subtle ways that he could have done it. But
it is
like,
pretty final at close combat. But.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you you can take like a few bullets from like most machine guns and it'll be fine. But well, depending on where they hit you, like it's not a guaranteed kill unless you nail somebody in the head. But with a shotgun, especially a double barrel at close range, you're gonna like completely rip up their insides. Or if in the case of the fat guy in the back of the sorry, this is getting very
bit graphic, but it's fine. We got time.
But so that's what I was thinking. But you're right. Like I'm thinking like maybe a garrote or a knife would have made a little bit more sense. But I mean, it was Miami in the '80s. Like,
yeah. I mean, Miami is known, at least in the gaming world, for being a place where you get some crazy killing people.
I mean, it's like the running meme of Florida Man.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking Hotline Miami specifically.
There is that too, which is also set in the '80s in Miami.
The one of the main issues, as awesome as the ending is, and I don't think they could have made it any more awesome. But the efficiency of the way that they took out God, I forgot his name now. Tony Montana,
yeah.
They could have done it a lot better, right? For a start, the compound is surrounded by trees and the ocean. So they could have straight up gone in from the ocean. Then they wouldn't even have to go through all the guards to start with. Second of all, his balcony looks out upon like a forest. Someone could have just shot him from outside of the compound.
That's a good point. If somebody had like a long range rifle, but I think part of it was not. They didn't want it to be just like a hit, right? I think it was supposed to be sending a message. So
they didn't just kill him; they killed all of his guards.
Right? Yeah. The guy down in Panama was trying to prove a point. It's like, you cross me, I can send a whole fucking army after you.
But I think the reason that Sousa turned on Tony Montana was because Tony killed an assassin he was meant to be working with, because the assassin was going to kill a target that also had the target's wife and children around.
Yeah, they were supposed to. assassinate
Right.
some politician that was causing trouble for Souza, and so they had planned to have it just be him and a driver in the car, and then they were going to detonate the car with him in it right in front of the UN. But for some reason, his wife and kids got in the car, even though they weren't supposed to be there. The assassin's like, no, we got to do this now. It's now or never. This has to happen. And Tony Montana is, getting really upset, just like, oh, we're not, no kids, no women, and he ends up just shooting him in the head. Also,
I
because
don't really understand.
he was all coked up too.
I don't really understand why they didn't blow him up before the kids and wife got in the car. Really,
It was because it was supposed to happen in front of the UN.
to send a message.
Yeah, exactly. So, granted, yeah, maybe if they didn't want to send a message and they're like, okay, abort, you've got to blow up now before the kids and wife get in there. But I don't think they had enough time, because by the time they realized the wife and kids were getting in, because he had circled around to get in front of the hotel again, they were already right next to the car. So they would have killed him if they'd blown up the car then, too. And so I think that was why and then they spend the next, mile or two arguing in the car.
Yeah, I mean, they could have also just waited till they got to wherever they were going.
Waited until the wife and kid got out, if they got out first, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely.
There was some options, but I don't think it was. Again, it was a very intense scene. The assassin guy is just like, "No, we got to do this," and Tony Montana is like, "Fuck you, I ain't killing no women and kids." And
that was quite a nice antipathy, because previously he's just been like a murdering, rampaging maniac, pretty much. But it shows a very human side to him.
there's also something, some of the Spanish gets translated, right? And it's usually when there's exposition. But this is something that I mentioned while we were watching the movie. There's little interactions that they have in Spanish, and most of the time it's just rudimentary Spanish. They're switching back and forth, and so you can pretty much figure out what they're saying, if you know any Spanish at all. But there are a couple little interactions they have with each other that they don't translate and are in Spanish, and they're it's a lot funnier if you actually know what they're saying. One that I will not say in English because it's kind of crass is they're looking at these women walking by, and there's two hot women, and then there's two older women behind them, and then the guy's like, "Oh, look at those beautiful women," and the other guy next to him is like, "What are you talking about? They're 70 years old," and he's like, "Not those ones, the hot ones." And then they're messing with each other, and as they're walking off, they see another woman in a bikini, and one of the guys in Spanish goes, it was something like "Que coño rico," and it's let me just say it was basically an expletive about how rich a certain part of her body was. A swear word that I don't want to use in the podcast.
I think you actually used it in part one anyway.
Oh.
Yes, you did. But anyway, regarding the relationships in that film, the moment you see and I can't remember what the guy's name is, the boss. What's his name?
What was his name? Frank, maybe? No.
Let's call him Frank.
Let's call him Frank.
Frank the boss.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
When they first see his wife,
yeah,
and it's the instant, "Oh, I fell in love the moment I saw her" thing. That just made me mentally sick, because I was like, all right, you've not even met this woman yet, and you've just seen her once, and you're obviously it's the worst person in the world you can fall for.
Well, I think the power bit of it was also one of the reasons that they were I think that's also one of the reasons that they were what am I trying to say?
Drawn to each other.
Yeah, that he was drawn to her was because it was such a dangerous person to get involved with, because she was she was the wife of the guy who had all the power, and so I think Tony Montana, clearly a very ambitious person, and I think that's why he was like thinking he really wanted to go for her in particular. I think he fell in love not just with her, but with the prestige,
with the concept of breaking the boundaries.
Exactly, the prestige and power that it would represent for him going for that woman.
And I think that must be the only thing, because she was like an asshole, and I mean, also she was permanently coked up. She was smoking. There was one scene where she did 2 puffs of cocaine. She then took a cigarette out of her mouth, and then she had some whiskey, all in a space of about 5 seconds. I'm like, wow, this is just all of the things that will fuck your body up in once. Like, you can't be mentally sane, surely, if you're doing all 3 of them at once. That's got to make you trip real hard. So no, I her character, I really could not understand anything around her character, because it just seems like a disaster zone waiting to happen.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's really all there is to talk about that movie. Anything else you wanted to talk about with Scarface? I'm trying to think back through the movie if there was any other scenes that I just I really liked.
The friendo dying.
That part made me like really sad.
Yeah, it was. It could have been such a nice thing, but I don't know why I'm trying not to avoid saying spoilers, because obviously it's like, how old was this movie?
1983.
Pretty old. 83, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It could have been really. If that had gone differently, I think the whole film would have ended on such a positive note, because he wouldn't have gone home then and there.
Yeah.
So the whole fight at the end wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
She would be really happy. It'd be a nice family thing. He would be literally welcomed into the family, and it could have been such a good ending.
Yeah, and it just, but I mean, that's
it's still a good ending, but
I feel like that's how these gang, like the 80s gang movies kind of end. Like,
yeah, they always end that way.
They're because I mean, in real life, that's the way that a lot of the real life gangsters and mobsters that they're based on, that's how their lives end. They overstretched their reach and paid the price for it.
Yeah, like I don't know. Have you seen The Irishman?
I have. Yeah, I've seen The Irishman.
That's another really good film, and kind of. It feels like all the events of the movie, no matter how long it is, lead up to a single decision at the end, which decides whether they live a happy life and do one way, or they don't learn a kind of lesson, and they end up just driving themselves into the grave, basically. That's how most mob films go for me, anyway.
Yeah.
But how? Sorry, I see the time's winding on. We, what did you have planned for next week?
Oh, for movies. So next week, just a little preview. There's an animated movie that I found that I liked a lot. And I've
Anime?
Sorry. Sort of. It's so you know the band Daft Punk.
Yes.
They released an album, and I don't know which came first or if they were released together, but they essentially, this entire movie, there's no dialogue, there's no actual, there's implied talking, but it's all silent, and the entire movie is just the length of the album, and it's all it's a great movie, but it's all it takes place over the course of this entire Daft Punk album, and they managed to tell a story just through visuals and music. And it's honestly, the story's a bit generic, but I think they fall back on those tropes so that they could actually kind of accomplish what they were looking for from an artistic standpoint. I really like the movie. It's actually a really good album too. So
they did something like, I mean, I won't. I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot next time. But Fall Out Boy, I think, did something similar. They've got like a whole like.
Yeah, the
their album is actually like a story that goes. It's not a very well connected story. It's got Elton John in it at the end as well.
Yeah, there's another band that did something like that. They didn't have. I think they had comic books that went along with it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I've seen the Fall Out Boy one. It just seemed very disjointed at the time. So hopefully this is going to be more of a actual narrative. From,
Coheed and Cambria.
What'd you say?
Coheed and Cambria. That's the band I was trying to think of. They released an album that I either had a comic book that went along with it, but the whole album told a story.
Gotcha.
So there's it's been done before, but this one is particularly good. But yeah, hopefully we'll find some time to watch that this week, and then we will be able to talk about it next week. But yeah, let's wrap up segment 2 there.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for listening, and this has been the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are now on segment 3, our wildcard segment.
The wild card!
God damn. That's
my zone.
This week, there's an interesting new idea that came up. Blue was telling me about another YouTube channel he was watching where they tried to do something similar to this. And I thought it'd be a fun little thing to try on here. Basically, what?
Well, oh, sorry. Are you thinking about Your Hammer or Lawhammer or?
No. Well, you were talking about it before. What were you talking about? Like you were talking.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, sorry. Cynical Brit.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, that might be something interesting to do here. Basically, what we're going to try to do is we're going to pick some sort of a movie, game, or book franchise, and one person's going to time it, and the other person is going to try to, within 2 minutes, describe the entire lore, or at least the most important basics for that series.
Yeah, a brief synopsis of everything that happens.
Yeah, and this is either going to end up being entertaining or just a complete disaster. So, come on the journey with us.
I think no one will properly understand what is said, but if someone knows what they're talking about, then I think they will be able to follow along.
I think this is probably going to be more entertaining for the people who do know the lore of the series that we're talking about. Because I imagine that we're going to have to use some shorthand in it to kind of...
Absolutely. And I think we should avoid things that we've both seen or played.
Okay.
Because then it's interesting for the other person because it's something they haven't heard about.
Alright, so I'm going to get a stopwatch ready.
Yep, I've got a time ready. So are we going to agree on 1 minute or 2 minutes? Or should we go midway and say 1 minute 30?
Let's start with 1 minute 30, and then if it... I think
if it's too much or too little. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, God, I don't want an alarm clock. I want a stopwatch.
Yeah, it's the same app, though.
There we go. Yeah, I just clicked on the wrong tab. Okay, do you want to open us up with Payday, since that's what you were talking about a little earlier?
I feel like Payday should be one of the last.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not. No. Fuck it, I'll go with Payday, because it's my wheelhouse. Although, that being said, it's going to be a challenge. Alright, Hal.
Yeah, you ready?
I think so.
Alright, 3...
Can you warn me when there's 20 seconds to go?
I will give you a warning at 30 seconds, 1 minute, and... 30 seconds and 1 minute.
Okay, that's good. Alright.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, the Payday franchise revolves around 4 heisters, or criminals, who each wear these clown masks, and they go out to different banks or stores and things, and they rob the place. They're led by one overarching leader who no one knows what the guy looks like, called Bane. Now, they're all, in the first game, they're all just robbing banks, and for one special mission, they are going to a hospital, and what they basically do is they're stealing a virus which some client wants. They don't know who.
Left.
In exchange for the virus, they get a book called the Book of Cagliostro. The Book of Cagliostro is about this ancient civilization and their ways, and it talks about a great power. And basically, although no one in the gang is aware of it except for Bane, they're slowly working their way towards unlocking the powers of Cagliostro, which is a giant fucking pyramid underneath the White House. And there's like an Illuminati-esque enemy group trying to get the power. They try and get in different ways. They get like someone to try and be the president. That doesn't quite work. And they have to bring in like about 30 different heisters with different specialities. And shit. And the final mission, you break into the White House, but if you do it properly, you get into the lower levels, you enter the pyramid, you put this mine gold all around a circle, and then the Bane becomes the president in a different life, and then they go away in a boat and live happily ever after.
You're out of time. What the fuck was that crazy Illuminati shit? Okay, there's a lot more to that game than I thought.
There is so much. I cut out like 90% of Payday 2. I spoke for the first 30 seconds about Payday 1. I didn't even mention like someone going to prison or like, oh my god, there were so many characters, so much plot. There's the person that replaces Bane. I didn't even talk about him. That 1 minute 30 is not enough to talk about Payday 2.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Alright. For reference, if anyone's actually curious what it's about, there is a 12-episode series by a YouTuber called The Noli. It's very interesting. I suggest you check it out. If you've played the game or not, because it's very, very in-depth. It talks about like fucking aliens and people who lived centuries ago. A big revolving cycle of... Anyway, there's so much information.
God. Alright, well, so it's my turn next.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think... let me start off with something I'm probably going to be stronger on. I can do Halo.
Okay, yeah. Halo, because I don't know much about Halo. I've played Halo Reach, but...
Yeah.
I don't know much. It's the Flood in Halo, isn't it, right?
No, the Flood and the Covenant, and yeah.
Okay.
I'll get into it. Hopefully I can get through all of it.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, just tell me when.
Alright. 3, 2, 1, start.
Okay, Halo is a sci-fi series set about 500 years in the future. I think it's like 2055 when the game opens up. 2550, I should say. And the government, like Earth, has colonized a bunch of different planets. So far, they haven't encountered any aliens. It's all humans out there. But the colonies are getting rebellious. There's terrorist attacks and everything. And so a secret, like, Black Ops government program decides that the best way to do or handle things is to make super soldiers.
1 minute.
But to make the super soldiers, they have to kidnap young children, like 6 years old. They make flash clones of them, and that batch of children that gets augmented becomes the first Spartan 2s. The, Master Chief, the main character from Halo, is one of those guys. His actual name is John. They go out, they stop a few rebels, but before they really get moving, humanity makes first contact with the Covenant, which is a conglomeration, a religious theocracy of alien species. They attack humanity. The Spartans become instrumental in fighting them. In the first Halo game, you are running away from the Covenant when they attack Reach, the military homeworld of the UNSC, the humans, and you run across a ring that was made by an ancient race that can kill all life in the galaxy.
Okay. You ending it?
Is that it time?
No, 3 seconds.
Oh, well, fuck. I thought you said it ended. But
no, I said, is that it? Because you stopped talking. I was like, what?
No, there's quite a bit more. I was just trying to summarize it. I literally just got to the end of the first game.
So about 45 seconds in, and you're like, Master Chief, he's called John, by the way. And I'm like, you're really talking about John?
He's the main character for the rest of the series. Yeah, I realized, a minute and a half, God, I probably should have... I literally...
It's a lot less than you think it is, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. What I described there was the plot of the first book and the first game.
Yeah, the origins.
Yeah, I got through the origins in the first game, and the first game was kind of blurted out in the last 10 seconds.
You explained how, the soldiers came about.
Yeah.
But then you didn't really get to why they came about.
Yeah, I didn't even get to the Flood either, which is another big part of Halo.
You called the Flood, a conglomerate, so as far as
No, not the Flood, the Covenant.
Oh, sorry, the Covenant. So
the
basically
Flood,
just sounds like
I never even mentioned the Flood. The Flood come much later in the first game.
It sounds like just an industry war between two people.
Well, they are. They're a conglomeration of, alien species and a religious theocracy.
If you make it sound like two heavily armed shopping centres going at each other. With hired private mercenaries to, mess up the other person's mall.
Honestly, in the early stages of the books, that's kind of what it's like, except one shopping center is significantly better equipped, and the humans get their ass kicked.
Oh
my god.
Okay, I think, right, for round 2,
yeah,
I think we have to tell the other person what it is that they have to describe the story of.
Okay.
For round 2.
All
I think we put it up to 2 minutes to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
but the other person decides what they have to talk.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to be mean. Warhammer 40k.
Well, okay, I think we also have to say it's something that the other person actually has an idea. 'Cause I don't know jack shit about Warhammer 40k.
Oh, okay. I thought you did. I don't know much about 40k either. I know a lot about 30k.
I know a lot of interesting little tidbits about it, but the overarching story I have very little clue about.
What about Star Wars? You got a good grasp on that?
Yeah, I can do Star Wars.
Alright, you go for Star Wars then.
Okay, 2 minutes on the clock?
2 minutes on the clock, and 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, there's this character called Jar Jar Binks, and he's just the best. A boy called Anakin Skywalker is brought up on a desert planet. His mother is enslaved. He does pod racing, and he gets a bunch of money to pay off his debt to the slaver. He gets taken off-world by... what's the guy called? It's not Obi-Wan.
It's Qui-Gon
It's someone else. Qui-Gon Jinn, thank you. And he trains him up as a Jedi. His Qui-Gon gets killed. Obi-Wan becomes Anakin's new master. They're fighting. They're doing really good. The clones get taken. No, the clones become a thing from Kamino. The aliens there are like, someone ordered this shipment, so we've given you a bunch of clones to fight your armies. The clones then become corrupted by the Sith when Anakin also becomes evil.
1 minute left.
Anakin turns into Darth Vader. How much time?
1 minute.
Anakin turns into Darth Vader because the Emperor Palpatine is actually evil, even though before he was just the Senate. And then the Empire is born. The droids get thrown in the trash because they have new stormtroopers now. The rebels, which is what's left of the good guys, become outcast in a lot of the systems. They're battling each other, and finally it ends because... how much?
30.
Okay, it ends when Luke, Anakin's son, who he had with a princess, doesn't matter, kills, or almost kills the Emperor, and does kill his father, who's Darth Vader. Darth Vader kills the Emperor. They all die, except Luke. He flies off. He's flown off. Then there's a bunch of crappy sequels who no one cares about.
Alright, that's exactly 2 minutes.
Thank God.
Also, I don't think Luke kills Vader. I think,
No, I can't remember how.
Yeah, so if I
died.
remember the ending to that last Star Wars movie like Vader and Luke fight, and then the Emperor, like Luke refuses to kill Vader.
Oh, he gets electrocuted, doesn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, and then Darth Vader has this like daddy moment where he's like, "You ain't touching my son," and he picks up the Emperor, and the Emperor is still electrocuting, so Darth Vader becomes like a lightning rod, and then he throws the Emperor down a shaft, and I think that's what eventually kills him.
He gets shafted.
Yeah. Oh man! Thank you for perfectly summarizing the sequel trilogy too.
Yeah, there were so many things where I was like, I know what the answer to them is, but because I had to think so quickly, I just blurted out an answer.
Oh my god!
There was so much to go through.
I'll admit that, like, probably the stuff that I know, the Star Wars I know the most lore about is the Old Republic, because I played the shit out of KOTOR 1 and 2. But that was pretty good. You hit, like, almost exactly 2 minutes.
Okay, right. Now for your one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about being really cheeky and saying Sonic Adventure 2. But honestly, I don't think there's enough in there to fill 2 minutes. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but I could get down in the weeds doing it. But yeah, okay. What's one of the other ones you were thinking?
Did you play WoW back in the day?
No. A bunch of people from the Hive tried to get me into it, and it just wasn't the only MMO that I ever played a significant amount of was Phantasy Star Universe. Okay,
right. I'm taking a segment of this overarching lore that I want you to describe in 2 minutes, and that is the lore of the main campaign of Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck. I played those games so much.
Exactly. That's why I thought it would be kind of fair.
Okay, let's see how much of it I still remember.
All right. Are you gonna divide it up into 30 seconds each, or?
Well, it's 2 minutes I have now, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. 40 seconds. Is that right?
Yeah.
40 seconds.
Skyrim's probably going to take me the least time to describe because its plot's a little bit more of a light touch.
Well, that's all about the priests.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get to it. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, I'm ready. Just let me know when.
3, 2, 1, commence.
All right. Morrowind takes place on the continent of Vanderfell, no, not on the continent. There's an island in the middle in the Morrowind region. There's this giant like fantasy continent. Morrowind is a region in it, and it takes place on a small island within Morrowind, or within that region. You are just some random Yahoo who was on a prison ship, and you get out, and then you get set on a quest to go and talk to this guy who's the leader, or he's part of a faction called the Blades, which are kind of like secret police that serve the Emperor. He sets you on a quest. You go out and find some stuff. It all culminates in you getting up to a giant mountain that apparently has doom happening. And you prevent that doom to stop Morrowind from blowing up and then become the hero of the land. Oblivion, similarly, you are also a prisoner in a jail cell, and due to an assassination attempt on the Emperor and his kids, you're now in Cyrodiil, which is the main capital area. You get let out of prison and become the chosen one. The Emperor gives you a thing and sets you off on a quest to find his bastard son, so that you can close the Oblivion gates and stop hell from literally coming to Earth. You go around, find that guy, and then fight off the demons through the Oblivion gates and close them.
40 seconds.
Then in Skyrim, you once again, I think, are a prisoner. You're on your way to getting executed, and then Godzilla flies down and blows some shit up, and you escape, and you get to choose either the faction that was about to kill you or the faction that was about to be killed with you. So if your brain isn't dead, you follow the faction that was about to be killed with you. And you go off, there's a big rebellion happening, you find out that you're the legendary Dragonborn, you can learn dragon shouts and make things go boom, and you become super powerful, fight off the Civil War, and then stop this giant elder dragon from destroying the whole world and causing an apocalypse. That's it.
And we're done.
How was I doing on time?
Again, good time. That was it.
Okay. I knew that I was going to have an easy... Ironically, I think Oblivion was the one I got through the quickest.
Mm. Yeah, it was. You spent, I mean, they spent the first 20
seconds.
seconds of Morrowind just describing the continent, I think.
Yeah, well, it also set me up for the subsequent games because they all take place in different regions on the continent.
Yeah,
So I wanted to take a second to go like, okay, it's a region. So Morrowind's a region, Cyrodiil's a region, Skyrim's a region.
You know, I could really have thrown like a span in the works if I'd said describe Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh god, I didn't play that game nearly enough. I get.
There's not really a main story.
There really isn't. So like, I mean, the plot of it is. The continent has been split up into 3 factions because WoW had factions and we want them too.
Yeah,
and I
basically
don't really know much
transactions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What time are we looking at? Have we got time for round 3?
Honestly, I think we're doing pretty good on time.
Yeah?
I think we've got another like 11 or 12 minutes at least for the segment. So, let's.
Okay, round 3. Have you got any ideas for how we could switch it up?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Wildcard section.
How about for this one, we try to describe the plot of something that we've heard about but don't really know too much about.
Okay.
So just like things that we basically have a vague knowledge of, but don't actually have that much first-hand knowledge from playing games, watching movies, or reading books.
I was thinking, and this is just throwing it out there.
Okay.
We describe a like we have been doing, but we're only allowed to use nouns and adjectives.
What? How is that even? Well, the time limit's not going to be necessary then, because it's just going to be a 3-word description.
I think that might be slightly too difficult.
I mean, you're working in word puzzles to what's already kind of a challenge.
Yeah, your Liz Destic might kick in.
Oh yeah.
So sorry, what was your idea?
So it was just like something that we know about and kind of know a bit about, but not something that we have like too much first-hand experience with.
Okay.
So like I don't know. It essentially it'd be like me asking you to describe Halo or something like that. We've already done Halo, so not that one.
Okay. And just seeing like how much that we actually get right, the other person knows.
Yeah, exactly. Something that I know but you don't, or that you know that I don't, and that we've kind of vaguely have a vague understanding of. I don't know. What's I'm now that I've come up with this idea, now I'm trying to actually think of something I could do.
Yeah. I'm looking down through like my list of games right now, and there's so many games that just don't have stories.
Well, it doesn't have to be a game. It could be like movies or TV shows or something like that we've just heard of.
Kaiser, talk about the intense lore behind Polybridge.
You know what? Here, why don't you have you played The Witcher at all?
I played it for about an hour, and it was so confusing and so much text that I just wanted to stab myself.
All right, that's going to be yours then.
I have watched the TV series.
Okay, but I'm specifically going to ask you to talk about the game series.
Okay.
Just from what you've heard third or second hand, I'll see. And I think after you finish, I'll go through and point out anything that you got right or was more egregiously wrong.
Gotcha.
What were you going to say?
I was thinking XCOM.
I don't know the plot to that at all.
You've played the game though, haven't you?
Yeah, but I barely understood what was going on.
Okay.
That was just a game that I played casually on my couch, like while I was listening to a podcast. I wasn't really paying too close attention to it.
Yeah, it's alright. Well, we're talking about Witcher. I haven't even played The Witcher. You've played XCOM.
Well, when it comes to my turn, you could pick something like that for me. Although, I'd appreciate if you didn't, because I have no idea what the plot actually was.
Well, you're going to love my description of The Witcher then.
Oh my god, okay. Are you ready?
Okay. It's gonna be a synopsis of what I think The Witcher is, as opposed to what The Witcher is.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what I imagine this this version going as. All right,
Okay.
are you ready?
I guess so.
All right,
Wait, how long are we doing it for?
we'll keep 2 minutes on the clock. I think it
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. God, I think that might be a bit too long, but okay, we're
Well,
good.
we can go back down to a minute and a half.
No. Let's go 2 minutes and see where it goes.
Okay, all right. It's all experimental, this segment. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the story of The Witcher revolves around a character called Geralt of Rivia, who I'm gonna shorten to Jerry for the rest of this description. So Jerry is probably an orphan, and he got picked up probably from some tragic circumstances. I'm assuming his family and like village got destroyed or burnt or taken over by witches, and he's a special child, and he gets like some powers put into him, and then he gets trained up by these people called the Witchers. I think all the witches die. Maybe they're the people who got burnt in the village. Who knows? And the witches have special powers, and they go around beating up monsters, and they're very smart, and they have certain resiliences and special eyes. So, as in special space eyes, not special eyes. They have all these like potions they put on the weapons and stuff. They go around murdering beasts to like help people out in villages and things. Jerry doesn't have much. I think he has like no emotion or something, but he still sleeps with every woman he comes across. He has a very serious attitude. His thing is like his theme is wolf related in some way. He tries to save people, but at the end of the day, he's a mercenary. He's out there to get money, and everyone hates him because he's different to them. He's got a horse that's cool, and he's named it, and I can't remember what the name of the horse is.
30 seconds.
He works his way up to fighting dragons and stuff, I guess. But then he fights a lot of like undead and like big frogs that are attacking old ladies in villages. He does the whole thing. He also does this gambling game, card game, which I can't remember the name of it, but they had their own game for that. And that's it. I can't think of anything
You've got
else.
5 seconds left on the clock, but we can stop it there. You got a remarkable amount right.
Really?
So he was an orphan of some variety, but it wasn't like a tragic backstory. He was literally just bought by these people who were creating witchers.
That sounds pretty tragic.
Yeah.
Bought.
Well, exactly. He was bought. They do all these genetic augmentations to him and like mess with their body structure and give them slight magical powers with the intent of creating monster hunters called witchers.
I totally forgot to talk about the fact that there's magic in the world.
Yeah, the whole wolf thing is because he was trained by the wolf school, but there was also like the cat school and the bear school.
Just a bunch of fucking furries.
Yeah, essentially. And it's not that he has no emotions; it's that. But that's the rumor about witchers is that they are emotionless. When in fact they're fairly normal. They're just very highly trained monster hunters. But yeah, like a lot of that you actually got right. The card game is called Gwent, by the way.
That's the one. What's the horse called?
Roach.
Roach.
And it's not necessarily the same Roach. He always he names every horse he gets Roach. Even so he actually has a couple different horses throughout the course of the series, both the books and the games. And he just, whenever he gets a new one, he names it Roach.
Yeah. I should have just started singing Toss a Coin to Your Witcher.
Toss a coin to your Witcher. All right.
Oh, okay. Right, yes.
But yeah, you did surprisingly good. But there was a lot of. I like he has no emotions, but he also sleeps with every woman he comes across. And it's just like, yep.
Yeah. Okay, your story. You're going to be discussing. Oof. You know too much about Lord of the Rings, so I'm not going to say that. There's a lot of great games that just have no story behind them. I was like, Is there a story behind Factorio?
I mean, not real. Technically, I think there is a campaign mode. I've just never played it.
I think that's just a tutorial, basically.
I think it's more a glorified tutorial.
Ooh.
Oh, sounds like you
a
thought
game
something.
that you have very briefly played and not really gone anything into.
Yeah.
But it does have a story. I don't know if because I feel like you'll just do the first 5 minutes of the game and then skip to the end because you don't know any of the story. I was going to say Cuphead.
Well, I have a vague idea what the plot actually is, but
is it enough to fill that? Because I feel like
I don't think it's enough to fill that time. Like I'm thinking I could probably describe the plot in about 40 seconds.
Hmm. Okay. Ooh. I just saw Rome Total War and I was like,
I mean,
maybe
it doesn't
I just say
necessarily...
you have to explain the entire history of Rome, or rather the Holy Roman Empire, in 2 minutes.
Wait, the Holy Roman Empire? That's different. Okay. Wait, the Roman Empire or the Holy Roman Empire?
Both.
I can't do both. It's like 1,500 years of history. That actually sounds fun, 'cause it doesn't necessarily have to be a movie, book, or TV show. It could be an actual historical thing. I do have.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Roman Empire.
The Roman Empire. Okay, I think I can do this.
Okay.
All right. Screw it. So 2 minutes on the clock. This is gonna be really tight.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what they say about Rome. It's tight.
Oh my god. All right. Tell me when I'm starting.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Okay, Rome started off when two brothers, Romulus and Remus, tried to found the city on two different hills. They both saw different signs, they got into a fight, they murdered each other, and then the one that was still alive founded Rome on that hill. That became part of Rome's founding myth. They slowly conquered all of the surrounding territories around them, the little city-states, and assimilated them into Rome. Eventually, they controlled the entire Italian continent and began to expand after the wars against Carthage, the other big empire in the Mediterranean at the time, which was situated in Africa. They then expanded into Africa. They had essentially enclaves and colonies all throughout Europe and all throughout the Middle East and all throughout North Africa. They stayed as a republic like that for quite a while. There was actually a big war where they took over Greece. They then were starting to have problems because they had a huge slave workforce and didn't have enough jobs for the poor working class, which were flooding into Rome, and it became increasingly ruled by rich landowners. At which point, cue Julius Caesar, who pops in and through a series of propaganda and military victories and fights with other people in the Senate, he he's like, fuck it, I'm taking over. He goes back, marches on Rome, sets himself up as a dictator for life, and starts to make reforms and changes. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out. He gets murdered by a bunch of conspiracy people. Unfortunately, it doesn't restore the Republic like they thought. Caesar's adopted son actually takes over. That's Augustus Caesar, Octavian Augustus Caesar, who then becomes the first Roman emperor. The Roman Empire then has a series of prosperity, and then there are several emperors, but eventually it starts to break down again because the Roman empires keep getting assassinated, and then the army just selects a new general to be in power. At one point, there's actually 4 emperors of Rome for each region. And then the Roman Empire collapses when they started using auxiliary troops, and the Western Roman Empire fell, and it goes back to Byzantium. The Eastern Roman Empire lasted for a little bit.
God, that was a struggle, wasn't it?
It really was. I had to really compress the ending. There's so much that happens with the emperors getting assassinated and replaced in the interim time, between Augustus and the collapse of the Western Roman Empire.
Yeah, I like at the beginning you're like, Romulus and Remus, they murdered each other. I was like, wait, what? But didn't one survive? And then you're like, and then the one that survived. Oh, wait, okay, so they didn't murder each other.
No, they tried. I meant to say they tried to murder each other. Only one of them succeeded.
That was good, though. Holy shit. Good job.
I do know quite a bit about Roman history.
Yeah, it was fast as well. There wasn't much pausing to think.
Yeah.
It was succinct. Oof,
That was,
crikey, that was quite something for Section 3, huh?
yeah, that was actually, like, I had a lot of fun with this.
That was a lot of fun.
This was
yeah.
a fun little game. Hopefully, everyone listening at home, you guys had fun listening along, and maybe you
And it's
learned.
something we could repeat.
Yeah, because there's so much more out there. Like
Yeah, so many games.
I mean, even at the end there, we explored the idea of doing a bit of history.
yeah.
That could be something fun to do too. Is like expand it out beyond that and talk about history. Because I think both of us have a decent interest in history.
Yeah, I don't know much about history, it's got to be said, but I do enjoy listening to history, for sure.
Yeah, it's quite a few podcasts and YouTube videos and documentaries fill my free time.
Indeed.
Anyway, I think we're actually coming up right on the end here. Any final thoughts? Thoughts about this segment in general? I think we both are in consensus that this is a potentially a winner that might come back for a repeat segment at some point.
Things I've been thinking about this week. I was gonna do it for today, but in the end, I literally just I didn't have time. I'm going to hopefully by next week downloaded and listened to the dinosaur audiobook.
Oh my
that
god!
we discussed for so long.
A promise that we've had for so long on the podcast that there would.
I think I'm actually going to crack down and do it. I got a little bit of time now. It's the new year.
Okay. I can't wait.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this last segment. It was, as usual, segment 3 wacky as heck.
Hopefully y'all had just as much fun listening to it as we had doing it, because I know this was entertaining for me.
And I hope everyone's had a great start to the year.
Yeah, we said
it's
the weather,
actually New Year for us now.
yeah, the weather's a bit gloomy today, but overall, I mean, hopefully things are going good for people. Anyway.
So, yes.
Yeah, is that it? Anything else?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, then that is the end of episode 23 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening if you have for this long, and hopefully you'll tune in again next week.
Have a wonderful January.